The signal. The quantum arrays hummed in perfect harmony, their crystalline structures reaching toward the stars like digital fingers searching through the cosmic noise. Dr. Arya Jung stood in the heart of the Himalayan deep space listening post, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that wrapped around the circular chamber. After 15 years of scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, she had learned to recognize the different songs of the universe, the rhythmic pulses of pulsars, the whispers of cosmic radiation, the echoes of ancient starlight. This was different. Dr. Jung, we're getting another pattern shift, called out Maya Patel, her young protege whose expertise in quantum signal processing had earned her a place at humanity's most advanced listening station. It's unlike anything in our database. Arya moved closer to Maya's station, studying the complex waveforms that danced across the screen. The signal wasn't just random noise. It carried information, densely packed and precisely structured. But what made it truly extraordinary was how it seemed to echo across multiple quantum states simultaneously, as if someone had found a way to broadcast through the very fabric of space-time itself. "How long has it been transmitting?" Arya asked, her fingers tracing the patterns in the air. "That's the thing," Maya replied, pulling up another set of readings. "According to these temporal markers, this signal is millions of years old. We're not picking up a transmission, we're picking up an echo." The implications hit Arya like a physical force. If Maya was right, they weren't just detecting evidence of ancient alien civilization. They were detecting evidence of advanced technology that could embed information into the quantum substrate of space itself, information that could survive for millions of years. Colonel James Harrison, the military liaison to the scientific team, stepped forward from his usual position near the back of the room. "Could this be some kind of weapon?" he asked, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had spent a career preparing for worst-case scenarios. "No," Arya replied, but then paused. "At least, not directly. But look at these patterns within patterns. This isn't just a message, it's a warning." The next 48 hours became a blur of activity. Teams of linguists and mathematicians were called in from around the globe, working in shifts to decode the layers of information embedded in the signal. What they found sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The message contained fragments of a story, the story of a civilization that had reached heights humanity could barely imagine. They had mastered the manipulation of matter, energy, and space-time itself. But they had also discovered something that terrified them enough to embed this warning into the very fabric of the universe. "We're calling it the Cascade." Arya explained the emergency meeting of the United Earth Council, her hologram projected simultaneously to government chambers around the world. "According to what we've decoded, it's a quantum chain reaction that spreads across space, breaking down the barriers between parallel realities. The civilization that left this message encountered it, tried to fight it, and—" She didn't need to finish the sentence. The data showed what had happened to them. Entire star systems simply ceasing to exist, not through destruction, but through something more fundamental. They hadn't been destroyed. They had been unwritten from reality itself. "How much time do we have?" The question came from Dr. Sarah Chen, head of the Global Defense Initiative. Arya took a deep breath. "Based on the propagation patterns described in the signal and our current observations of quantum instabilities in our region of space, 3 months, maybe less." The chamber erupted in chaos, but Arya wasn't finished. "There's more," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "The signal doesn't just contain a warning. It contains information, fragments of the technology they developed to fight the Cascade. But it's beyond anything we can currently understand. It would be like giving quantum physics textbooks to medieval alchemists." "Then we're doomed," someone said from the back of the chamber. "No," Arya replied, her voice firm. "We're humans. We've faced extinction-level threats before: disease, climate change, asteroid impacts. Each time, we survived not because we were the strongest or the most advanced, but because we found ways to solve problems that nobody else had thought of. We don't need to understand everything in this signal. We just need to understand enough to find our own solution. As she spoke, Maya was already leading a team in analyzing the signal's structure, looking not at the advanced technology it described, but at the fundamental principles behind it. Colonel Harrison was coordinating with military scientists worldwide, exploring how existing human technology might be adapted to deal with a threat that existed on a quantum level. They had 3 months to solve a problem that had defeated a civilization millions of years more advanced than humanity. But as Aria looked around at the determined faces of her colleagues, she felt something she hadn't expected: hope. Because while that ancient civilization had possessed incredible technology, they had something else. They had human ingenuity, human determination, and most importantly, the human ability to find solutions where others saw only impossibilities. The race against time had begun, and humanity's greatest test was just beginning. The archive. The ESS Pathfinder cut through the darkness of the Kuiper Belt, its experimental quantum drives humming with barely contained power. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge, watching as the ship's sensors mapped the field of asteroids ahead. They have followed the coordinates hidden within the ancient signal, converting millions-year-old stellar positions into their current locations. If their calculations were correct, humanity's salvation lay somewhere in this cosmic debris field. "Contact," announced Lieutenant Riya Patel, her hands dancing across the sensor array. "Large structure detected inside asteroid KC-2749. It's hollow, Captain." Marcus leaned forward, studying the preliminary scans. The asteroid wasn't just hollow. It had been engineered. Precisely carved tunnels wound through its interior, like the circuits of some massive computer, all converging on a central chamber nearly 2 kilometers wide. "Life support status?" he asked, already knowing they'd find none. Nothing biological could survive millions of years, even in the vacuum of space. "Negative on biological signatures," Riya confirmed. "But there's something else. The entire structure is maintaining a quantum field. After all this time, it's still active." Dr. Zhang's voice came through the comm system from her station back on Earth. "The field signatures match the patterns we found in the signal. This is it, Captain. This is what we've been looking for." The next 12 hours were a carefully choreographed dance of preparation and precaution. Teams of scientists and engineers, encased in the most advanced protective suits humanity could produce, began exploring the ancient structure. What they found defied explanation. "It's not just a library," Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the team's xenorchaeologist, reported from inside the central chamber. "It's a complete technological archive. But the way it's stored, it's like nothing we've ever seen." The chamber walls were covered in what appeared to be crystalline growths, each one containing what could only be described as frozen moments of thought. The complete technological and scientific knowledge of a civilization that had reached heights humanity could barely comprehend. They didn't write their knowledge down. Elena continued, her voice filled with wonder. They found a way to transform their understanding directly into matter. Each crystal is like a 3-dimensional snapshot of a concept, a complete understanding frozen in time. But it was Dr. David Kumar, the quantum physicist, who made the most startling discovery. "These aren't just recordings," he announced, his voice shaking with excitement. "The crystals are quantum entangled. They're still connected to something, even after all this time." The implications were staggering. The archive wasn't just a record of the past. It was a node in a vast network that stretched across space and time itself. The ancient civilization hadn't just left their knowledge behind. They had created a backup of their entire understanding of the universe. As the teams worked to decode the information stored in the crystals, they began to understand why. The cascade wasn't just a natural phenomenon. It was a weapon. A weapon created by something that existed beyond normal space and time, something that saw the very existence of ordered reality as an affront. They called them the Void Dancers, Marcus reported to the United Earth Council, his hologram flickering slightly from the quantum interference surrounding the archive. "They're not life as we understand it. They're more like mathematical contradictions given form. They exist by unmaking existence itself. The council chamber was silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just facing extinction. They were facing an enemy that could erase them from ever having existed at all. But there was hope hidden in the archive as well. The ancient civilization had found ways to fight back, developing technologies that could stabilize reality itself. The problem was, implementing these technologies required a level of quantum engineering that humanity was centuries away from achieving. "We don't have centuries," Dr. Zhang reminded them. "We have 64 days. It was Lieutenant Ria who first noticed something odd about the way the archive was structured. "Look at this," she said, pulling up a holographic display of the crystal patterns. "The information isn't stored linearly. It's more like they left gaps deliberately, as if they knew whoever found this would need to fill in the blanks themselves." Marcus studied the patterns, remembering something his grandmother used to say about teaching. Sometimes the best way to help someone learn isn't to give them the answer, but to help them find their own way there. They're not giving us their solutions, he realized. They're giving us a framework to find our own. As the teams continued their work, a new understanding began to emerge. The ancient civilization hadn't just left behind their technology. They had left behind a challenge. They had seen something in the quantum echoes of the future, something about humanity that made them believe we might succeed where they had failed. The question was, could humanity prove them right? With the cascade approaching and time running out, they were about to find out. The choice. The holographic display in the United Earth Council chamber showed the approaching wavefront of the cascade. Like a cancer in reality itself, it spread through space, leaving nothing but quantum static in its wake. Dr. Arya Zhang stood before the assembled leaders of humanity, her face illuminated by the ominous projection. "The archive has given us 3 options," she stated, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "The first is evacuation. The ancient civilization left coordinates to potential safe zones, regions of space where reality appears more resistant to the cascade's effects." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Admiral Sarah Chen, now heading Earth's defense forces, spoke up. "How many could we save? With our current technology and the time remaining, perhaps 10 million people, 1/100% of Earth's population." The silence that followed was deafening. Arya continued. "The second option is to attempt to replicate the ancient civilization's defensive technology directly. They created a network of reality anchors, devices that could stabilize space-time against the cascade's effects." "Can we build these anchors?" someone asked from the council. "No," Dr. David Kumar answered, stepping forward. "Not as they designed them. The quantum engineering required is beyond our capabilities. Our best attempts at replication have resulted in catastrophic failures. The last test nearly created a local collapse of reality in the Kuiper Belt." "And the third option?" Council President Rodriguez asked, though his expression suggested he already knew the answer. "We fight," Arya said simply. "Not with their technology, but with our own solution." The archive wasn't just showing us their successes, it was showing us their failures. They tried to brute force their way through the problem, throwing increasingly advanced technology at it until they were erased from existence. Admiral Chen finished. "Yes, but they saw something in us, in humanity. Something different." Arya gestured, and the hologram shifted to show the strange gaps in the archive's crystal patterns. "They didn't give us a complete solution because they knew we'd need to find our own way. They saw that our greatest strength isn't in our technology, it's in our ability to think differently." Lieutenant Ria Patel, who had been quietly analyzing data in the background, suddenly straightened. "Dr. Zhang, look at this pattern in the cascade's quantum signature. It's not random. It's learning, adapting." "Exactly," Arya nodded. "The Void Dancers didn't create a weapon. They created an algorithm. An evolutionary program designed to find and exploit weaknesses in the structure of reality itself. But any program can be hacked. Captain Marcus Chen finished, understanding dawning on his face. We don't need to match their technology. We need to understand their code. The next few hours were intense as the implications were debated. The ancient civilization had tried to fight the cascade with pure force, creating ever more powerful technologies to stabilize reality. But they had missed something fundamental, the nature of their enemy as a program, albeit one operating on a quantum level. This is still an enormous risk, Admiral Chen cautioned. If we're wrong, if we fail, we don't just die. We never existed at all. The evacuation option, while tragic, at least ensures some of humanity survives. Dr. Kumar shook his head. The safe zones won't last forever. The cascade is evolving, learning. Eventually, it will find a way in. We'd just be postponing the inevitable. President Rodriguez stood, his decision clear. We've never been a species that accepts defeat, that abandons our home, our history, our people. If we're going to face extinction, let's do it the human way. Fighting until the end, trying the impossible, and maybe, just maybe, succeeding where a far more advanced civilization failed. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would stay and fight. As the council chamber cleared, Arya remained, studying the holographic display of the approaching cascade. Maya approached her mentor, concern evident on her face. Do you really think we can do this? Create an entirely new way of fighting the cascade in the time we have left? Arya smiled, remembering all the times throughout history when humanity had faced seemingly impossible odds. The ancient civilization had millions of years to advance their technology, but they became trapped by their own assumptions about how to solve the problem. We have something they didn't, the ability to see patterns that others miss, to find solutions where none seem possible. The race to save reality itself had begun, and humanity's greatest strength, their capacity for innovative, unconventional thinking, would be put to the ultimate test. The solution, deep within the repurposed particle accelerator facility beneath the Swiss Alps, humanity's last hope took shape, not in the form of mighty weapons or reality-bending machines, but in lines of code scrolling across hundreds of quantum displays. Dr. Arya Zhang and her international team had been working nonstop for weeks, fueled by determination and the increasingly urgent updates about the cascade's approach. The Void Dancers created what's essentially a virus, Maya explained to the assembled team, her fingers tracing patterns in the holographic display. It infects reality itself, using quantum entanglement to spread and evolve. But every virus has a weakness in its code. The team had made a breakthrough when they stopped trying to fight the cascade directly and instead began treating it as what it was, a program, a horrifically complex one operating on a quantum level, but still fundamentally a set of instructions that could be understood and potentially rewritten. Traditional computing can't process quantum states fast enough, Dr. Kumar noted, pulling up simulation results. But we don't need to process them. We just need to communicate with them. The solution they developed was elegantly human in its approach. Instead of trying to match the Void Dancers' quantum technology, they had created a new form of coding language that could speak directly to the fabric of reality. They called it the Resonance Protocol. Captain Marcus Chen, watching from the Pathfinder's bridge in the Kuiper Belt, saw the beauty in it. We're not trying to stop the cascade. We're trying to talk to it. The Resonance Protocol worked by encoding messages into the quantum foam of space itself, using principles learned from the ancient archive, but implemented in a uniquely human way. Where the ancient civilization had tried to force reality to obey their rules, humanity had found a way to suggest new possibilities to it. The cascade works by convincing reality that it shouldn't exist, Arya explained during the final briefing. We're going to convince it otherwise. But implementing the protocol required a level of coordination unprecedented in human history. Quantum transmitters were positioned around the solar system, each one carefully calibrated to broadcast a piece of the code. The timing had to be perfect. A synchronization error of even a microsecond could cause the entire system to fail. Lieutenant Riya Patel led the synchronization effort from her station aboard the Pathfinder. "Think of it like a choir," she explained to her nervous crew. Each transmitter singing its own part, but together creating something greater than the sum of its parts. As the final hours approached, humanity held its breath. The Cascades wavefront was visible now even to conventional telescopes, a distortion in space that consumed everything in its path. But within that chaos, they had detected patterns, the signature of the Void Dancer's code at work. "All transmitters report ready," Riya announced, her voice steady despite the tension. "Quantum synchronization at 99.98% stability." Arya looked around at the faces of her team, seeing in them the same mix of fear and determination that she felt. They had done something unprecedented, created a way to communicate with the fundamental forces of reality itself, using technology that was primitive compared to their ancient predecessors, but imbued with human creativity and insight. "Begin transmission," she ordered. The resonance protocol activated, sending its message into the quantum substrate of space. Unlike the brute force attempts of the ancient civilization, this was a subtle thing, a whispered suggestion that rippled through reality like waves on a pond. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The cascade continued its advance, the wave of unreality drawing ever closer to Earth. But then, almost imperceptibly, something changed. The patterns within the cascade began to shift, responding to the human code that spoke their language but offered new possibilities. "It's working," Maya whispered, watching the quantum readings. "The cascade is listening." The battle for reality itself had begun, and humanity's greatest weapon wasn't superior technology or overwhelming force. It was their ability to find new ways to communicate, to understand, and to change the rules of the game entirely. The stand. The quantum displays in the control center showed reality itself in flux. The Cascade's wavefront had reached the outer edges of the solar system, its patterns shifting and changing as it encountered humanity's resonance protocol. Dr. Ariajan watched the cosmic dance of code and chaos, knowing the next few minutes would determine not just humanity's survival, but whether they had ever existed at all. "Cascade is responding to the initial protocol sequence," Maya reported, her voice tense. "But it's adapting faster than we predicted. The base code is evolving." Through the quantum feeds, they could see the Void Dancers program attempting to counter their intervention. Where humanity had introduced new patterns of stability, the cascade created new forms of entropy. It was a battle of information, fought in the space between moments. Pathfinder reporting quantum fluctuations beyond safe parameters. Captain Chen's voice crackled through the comm. "The barrier between realities is becoming unstable." Arya studied the patterns, seeing something familiar in the way the cascade responded to their code. "It's not just fighting us," she realized. "It's trying to understand us. The Void Dancers, they're curious." The insight hit her like a thunderbolt. The ancient civilization had seen these entities as weapons, as destroyers, but what if they were something else? What if the cascade wasn't just a program, but an attempt at communication from beings that experienced reality fundamentally differently? "Maya, modify the protocol," Arya commanded. "Don't try to stop the cascade. Invite it to see through our eyes." Understanding dawned on Maya's face as her fingers flew across the quantum interface. They weren't going to win this fight with force or even with clever programming. They were going to win it the most human way possible, by reaching across the divide and offering a new perspective. The modified resonance protocol pulsed through space, carrying not just code but understanding. Through quantum entanglement, they showed the Void Dancers what reality meant to humanity, not just physics and mathematics, but art, music, love, wonder, the fundamental beauty of existence itself. For a moment that stretched into eternity, nothing happened. The cascade hung at the edge of the solar system, its patterns frozen in mid-transformation. Then, slowly, it began to change. "The quantum signatures are stabilizing," Lieutenant Riya reported from the Pathfinder. "The cascade, It's not just stopping, it's transforming. Where there had been chaos, new patterns emerged. The Void Dancers program hadn't been destroyed or defeated. It had been enlightened. Through humanity's code, they had glimpsed a new way of experiencing reality, one that didn't require its destruction but its evolution. The transformation spread across space, a wave of new understanding replacing the wave of unreality. The Void Dancers, entities that had existed in the spaces between possible realities, had found a new way to interact with existence itself. They were never our enemies. Area breathed, watching the displays. They were artists who didn't understand their canvas. We just helped them see it differently. The ancient civilization, for all their advanced technology, had tried to fight an enemy that didn't need to be fought. Humanity, with their limited technology but unlimited creativity, had found a way to turn destroyers into creators. As the quantum storms subsided and reality stabilized, humanity found themselves not just saved, but changed. The resonance protocol had opened new understanding of the quantum nature of existence itself. The Void Dancers, once a threat to all reality, now offered insights into the spaces between spaces, the quantum foundations of existence. In the ancient archive, new crystals began to form, not left by the long-gone civilization, but created by the interaction between human understanding and the Void Dancers' transformed consciousness. A new chapter in the story of existence had begun. "Send a message to Earth," Captain Chen ordered, watching the stars shine more brightly than ever through the Pathfinder's viewscreen. "Tell them that humanity didn't just survive. We did what we always do. We found a way to turn an ending into a beginning." The echo that had warned of destruction had led to creation instead. Humanity had proven that their greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their weapons, but in their ability to see possibilities where others saw only threats, to find harmony where others found only discord. The stars beckoned, brighter than ever, and humanity looked to them, not with fear but with wonder, ready to explore a universe that had become infinitely more fascinating and more welcoming than they had ever imagined.